Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. Olivia hummed softly as she carefully folded the last of William's t-shirts, the cotton worn thin from countless washes. She placed it atop the stack in the laundry basket, picking up a pair of his jeans. A loose thread caught her eye, and she rubbed it between her fingers thoughtfully. Liam was growing so quickly these days. It seemed like just yesterday she was changing his diapers, and now, at age 12, he was nearly as tall as her. Lost in memories, Olivia carried the basket to Liam's room. She pushed open the door, the hinges creaking faintly. As she began putting the clothes away in his dresser drawers, a flash of purple peeking out from under the bed caught her eye. Frowning, she knelt down and pulled out a wadded-up sweater. The sparkly purple knit was stretched out, like it had been hastily removed and shoved out of sight. "Mom?" Liam's tentative voice made her jump. She turned to see him standing in the doorway, eyes wide. "What are you doing?" Olivia held up the sweater. "Just putting away laundry. Where did this come from, honey? I don't remember buying this for you." Liam's cheeks flushed and he stared at the carpet, toeing it with his sneaker. It's Sarah's, from school. She let me borrow it." "I see," Olivia said slowly. Liam had never mentioned a Sarah before, and since when did he borrow girls' clothes? "Well, make sure you give it back to her." "I will," he mumbled, reaching out to take the sweater. His fingers brushed the soft fabric almost lovingly before he turned and stuffed it deep into his backpack. Olivia watched him, brow furrowed. Something niggled at the back of her mind, but she couldn't quite grasp it. Shaking her head, she finished putting away his clothes and carried the empty basket out. As the weeks passed, Olivia started noticing other little things. The way Liam's gaze would linger on the dresses in store windows as they passed by. How he bit his lip and looked away whenever she suggested getting his hair cut. And then there was the time she found a tube of lip gloss in his jeans pocket while doing laundry. She tried to push down the thoughts that kept bubbling up, not wanting to jump to conclusions. Liam was at a confusing age, still figuring himself out. It was normal for kids to experiment, right? But she couldn't help but worry, especially when she overheard Liam crying softly in his room one night, muffled sobs drifting through the crack under his door. Her heart ached hearing the pain in those little hiccuping breaths. She'd raised a hand to knock, then hesitated. Would he even want to talk to her about what was bothering him? The tipping point came on a sunny Saturday morning. Olivia was flipping pancakes at the stove, humming along to the radio, when Liam shuffled into the kitchen, still in his pajamas. He slid onto a stool at the counter, unusually quiet. "Morning, sleepyhead," Olivia said brightly, sliding a short stack of pancakes in front of him. "Butter and syrup?" Liam nodded, poking at the fluffy discs with his fork. Olivia set the toppings by his plate and returned to the stove, sneaking glances at him. His brow was furrowed, lips pursed like he was deep in thought. "Mom," he said suddenly, voice small, Can I ask you something?" Olivia turned the burner off and faced him fully, trying to keep her expression neutral despite the anxiety starting to churn in her gut. "Of course, baby. You can ask me anything." Liam took a shaky breath, staring down at his untouched breakfast. What if I'm not the person you think I am? What if I'm different than other boys?" Olivia's heart stuttered and she gripped the edge of the counter for support. She swallowed hard. "Liam, honey, what do you mean? Different how?" He lifted his head then, blue eyes shiny with unshed tears. I think I'm a girl, Mom. I don't feel like a boy, not inside. I want to wear dresses and have long hair and—" His voice cracked and a few tears slipped down his cheeks. "I'm sorry, I know it's weird. I'm so sorry. Oh, baby, no!" Olivia rushed around the counter and pulled him into a tight hug. He clung to her, face buried against her chest as he cried. She stroked his hair, rocking him gently side to side. "Shh, it's okay," she murmured. "It's okay. I love you no matter what, do you hear me? You never have to apologize for being who you are." Liam lifted tear-stained eyes to hers. "You're not mad or disappointed?" Olivia cupped his face in her hands, thumbs sweeping away the wetness on his cheeks. "Mad? Never. You're my child, and I will always, always love you. Nothing could ever change that." He hiccuped softly, fresh tears welling up. "I was so scared to tell you. I thought you wouldn't." He trailed off, bottom lip trembling. "I know." Olivia pulled him close again, heart breaking at the fear and pain radiating off him. How long had he been struggling with this, all alone? "I'm so proud of you for telling me." "That was so brave!" Liam exhaled a shuddering breath against her neck. "It doesn't feel brave. I feel like such a freak sometimes." "You are perfect exactly as you are," Olivia said firmly. "And we will figure this out together, okay? You don't have to deal with this on your own anymore." He nodded, sniffling. They stayed like that for a long moment, just holding each other as Olivia's mind raced. She didn't know much about what Liam was going through, but she vowed to educate herself, to support him however she could. He deserved that much. And more pancakes, she decided, giving him one last squeeze before releasing him. "How about we eat this breakfast before it gets cold, and then we can talk more?" Liam offered her a wobbly, tentative smile and nodded again. Olivia smiled back encouragingly, sliding onto the stool next to him. As he picked up his fork, she could practically see the tension draining out of his thin shoulders, like a heavy burden had been lifted off of them. Her child was hurting, grappling with something huge and terrifying and life-altering. But she would be his rock, no matter how choppy the waters got. With time and unconditional love and support, they would weather this storm. Together. Over the next few weeks, Liam asked to be called Wilma, and Olivia threw herself into research with the same meticulous focus she applied to her work as an accountant. She devoured articles and blogs, joined online support groups for parents of transgender kids, and checked out every book the library had on the subject. Late at night, after Wilma, she corrected herself, had gone to bed, Olivia would sit at the kitchen table, sipping chamomile tea as she pored over the materials spread out before her. The terminology was daunting at first: dysphoria, gender identity, binding, HRT. But slowly, like a fog lifting, she began to understand what her daughter was going through. How it felt to be born in the wrong body, to know deep in your bones that your outside didn't match your inside. Her heart ached for Wilma, for the years she'd spent hiding her truth, terrified of rejection, of losing her family's love. Olivia's throat tightened every time she thought about it. She couldn't change the past, but she could damn well make sure Wilma knew she was cherished and supported going forward. One evening, Olivia tapped lightly on Wilma's bedroom door, a soft "come in" floating back to her. She smiled as she stepped inside. Wilma was perched on her bed, painting her toenails a vivid teal, tongue poking out in concentration. "Hey, honey," Olivia said, moving to sit beside her. "Can we talk for a sec?" Wilma froze, brush hovering over her pinky toe. Sure. Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine," Olivia reassured quickly. "I just wanted to check in, see how you're doing with everything." Wilma ducked her head, fiddling with the polish bottle. "Oh, I'm all right, I guess. It's still kind of weird, people using she and Wilma. My teachers mess up a lot." Olivia frowned. "I can talk to the school—" "No, it's fine," Wilma interrupted. "They're trying. It's just an adjustment." Olivia reached out to tuck a lock of hair behind Wilma's ear. She'd started growing it out, and it now brushed the tops of her shoulders in auburn waves. "I'm really proud of you, she said softly. "I know none of this is easy, but you're handling it with so much grace." A pleased flush rose on Wilma's cheeks, and she smiled shyly. Then her expression turned pensive. "Do you think Dad would have—" She trailed off, swallowing hard. "Would he have been okay with it? With me?" grief sucker punched Olivia right in the solar plexus. It had been 5 years since her husband's death from cancer, but the loss still took her breath away sometimes. "Your dad loved you more than anything in this world," she managed after a moment, blinking back tears. "He would have been your biggest cheerleader, no question." Wilma exhaled a shuddery breath, leaning into Olivia's side. "Yeah, you're right. I wish—" "Me too, baby." Olivia wrapped an arm around her daughter's shoulders, pulling her close. "Me too." They sat in heavy silence for a bit, lost in memories, before Olivia gave Wilma a little squeeze. "I've been doing some reading," she began, "about ways to make your transition easier. Would you be open to seeing a therapist who specializes in gender identity issues, and maybe a doctor to talk about medical options?" Wilma pulled back slightly, eyes wide. "You mean like hormones?" "If that's something you want to explore, yes," Olivia said carefully. She'd learned that hormone replacement therapy, when started early enough, could help transgender kids develop features aligning with their gender identity. Things like breasts, redistributed body fat, and a higher voice. "But there's no pressure. I just want you to know what's available to support you." Wilma pondered that, teeth worrying her bottom lip. I think I'd like that," she said finally. "Both the therapist and the doctor." A hopeful light entered her eyes. "Do you really think they could help me look more like a girl? On the outside?" "There's a very good chance," Olivia said, smiling. "We'll take it step by step and make sure we understand all the risks and effects. But if hormone therapy is the path you choose, I'll be with you every step of the way." Wilma surged forward, almost knocking over the nail polish as she threw her arms around Olivia's neck. "Thank you," she whispered fiercely, face smushed into Olivia's sweater. "Thank you so much, Mom." "Oh, honey." Olivia returned the embrace just as tightly, one hand cupping the back of Wilma's head. "You never have to thank me for loving you. You hear me? Never." After a few more sniffles and a few more hugs, Wilma drew back, face blotchy but smiling tremulously. "Okay, enough of the heavy stuff." She brandished the nail polish brush at Olivia. "Now, do you want teal toes to match mine or what?" Laughter bubbled out of Olivia, bright and startled. "You know what? Teal sounds perfect." She kicked off her sensible flats and settled more fully on the bed, feet in Wilma's lap. "Make me fancy, baby girl." And as Wilma bent over Olivia's toes, chattering on about the latest 7th grade gossip, Olivia let herself just breathe. Let herself enjoy this pocket of normalcy, of togetherness. True to her word, Olivia got Wilma set up with a highly recommended gender therapist, Dr. Singh, whose kind eyes and easy laugh immediately put them both at ease. The first few sessions focused on Wilma's general feelings about her identity, her fears and hopes, what steps she'd already taken to socially transition. Dr. Singh listened raptly, taking the occasional note, but mostly just giving Wilma her full attention. Olivia's heart swelled with pride as she watched her daughter become more animated, more confident as the appointments went on. This, she realized, was likely the first time Wilma could talk about her identity freely, without editing herself or fearing judgment. The safety of that was a balm to Olivia's soul. As the weeks went on and trust solidified, the conversations turned to medical options. Dr. Singh walked them through the different aspects of feminizing hormone therapy, anti-androgens to block testosterone, estrogen to develop breasts and redistribute body fat. She was frank about the effects and risks, but never alarmist. It was a big decision, she acknowledged, not to be made lightly. But for many of her transgender patients, HRT was literally life-saving. Questions and worries zipped through Olivia's mind, and she barely refrained from raising her hand like a schoolgirl. Would these hormones harm Wilma's health in any way? Were there side effects? What if she changed her mind later? Were the changes reversible? Dr. Singh answered each query patiently and thoroughly, maintaining eye contact with both of them. Yes, risks existed, as with any medication, but they were quite low and heavily outweighed by the benefits. Some effects were permanent, while others would revert if treatment stopped. Most of her patients reported a profound improvement in mental health and overall well-being once they began living as their authentic selves full-time. Olivia nodded slowly, trying to absorb it all. She glanced at Wilma, who was staring at the HRT pamphlets in her lap, flicking the edges with her thumbnail. "Honey, what are you thinking?" Wilma took a breath, finally raising her head. Olivia was struck by the swirl of emotions in her lake blue eyes: hope, fear, determination, longing. "I've spent my whole life feeling wrong," she said quietly. "Like my body is this foreign thing I'm trapped in." She pressed a hand to her chest, bunching the fabric of her t-shirt. I need my outside to match my inside. I know I'm young and it's a big choice, but..." She met Dr. Singh's gaze steadily. "I want to start HRT. I'm ready." Pride and concern warred in Olivia's gut. "Are you sure, baby? It's okay if you need more time to decide." "I'm sure." Wilma's jaw set in a way that was painfully reminiscent of her late father. "I've never been more sure of anything. Please, Mom." Olivia reached for her daughter's hand, lacing their fingers together and giving a gentle squeeze. "Okay," she said softly. "Okay, let's do this." Dr. Singh smiled at them warmly. "I think you're making a very brave and mature decision, Wilma. I'm happy to give you a referral to an excellent endocrinologist who can get you started on a hormone regimen." She glanced between them. "Do either of you have any other concerns you want to discuss today?" Wilma shook her head, a tiny smile playing at the edges of her mouth. She looked lighter somehow, like an invisible yoke had been lifted from her narrow shoulders. "No, just thank you, Dr. Singh, for everything." "You are so very welcome, Doctor," Singh replied, standing to shake both their hands. "I'm honored to be part of your journey. Let's get that referral sent over and schedule a follow-up for next month, shall we?" And just like that, the wheels were in motion. The endo appointment was made, blood work was done, consent forms were signed. Olivia's head spun a bit at the speed of it all, but then she looked at Wilma, at the hope and joy radiating from every pore, and she knew it was right. Knew she'd move mountains to put that look on her daughter's face every day for the rest of her life. The night before Wilma's first estradiol injection, Olivia found her sitting cross-legged on her bedroom floor, staring at the HRT kit in front of her. The needles and vials looked frighteningly medical in their sterile packaging. "You nervous?" Olivia asked gently, lowering herself down beside Wilma. "A little," Wilma admitted, picking up the paper with dosage instructions and scanning it for the dozenth time. "Not about the shots. Well, maybe a bit about those. But more about, what if it doesn't work?" She looked at Olivia, vulnerability etched into every line of her face. "What if the hormones don't do what they're supposed to? What if I still look like a boy after, and everyone can still tell I'm..." She bit her lip, blinking hard. "Oh, honey." Olivia scooted closer, draping an arm around Wilma and pulling her into her side. "The doctor said it might take some time for the physical changes to happen, remember? But they will, even if it's not overnight." She stroked Wilma's arm soothingly. "And you know what? Even if the hormones don't change a single thing about how you look, that doesn't make you any less of a girl. You are a bright, beautiful daughter, and I am so incredibly proud to be your mom. Nothing will ever change that." A tiny sob hitched in Wilma's throat, and she turned her face into Olivia's neck. Olivia held her tightly as hot tears dripped onto her collarbone, murmuring assurances into her hair. They rocked together on the bedroom floor, clinging to one another as the future stretched out before them, uncertain and thrilling and overwhelming in its potential. Finally, Wilma's tears tapered off, and she pulled back, wiping her face with her sleeve. "Sorry," she said with a watery laugh. "I don't know why I'm crying. I'm happy, I swear." Olivia smoothed Wilma's hair off her forehead. You're allowed to feel all of it, baby. The nerves, the excitement, the fear. This is huge, but we're going to take it one step at a time, just like we have been. And if it ever gets to be too much, you tell me and we'll figure it out together, okay? Wilma nodded, leaning back into Olivia's embrace. I love you, Mom. I love you too, Wilma, so very much. They stayed like that for a long time, watching the sun set through the bedroom window, colors bleeding together as day gave way to dusk. The muffled sounds of the neighborhood drifted in, barking dogs, laughing teenagers, the distant hum of a lawnmower. It all felt so utterly normal, so at odds with the magnitude of the journey they were embarking on. But then again, Olivia thought as she pressed a kiss to her dozing daughter's temple, maybe there was a beauty in that. In the extraordinary camouflaged as ordinary, in quiet acts of courage taken in children's bedrooms and doctors' offices, in loving someone so much you're willing to rewrite the story you thought you were living. Olivia closed her eyes, letting the peacefulness of the moment wash over her. Tomorrow would bring needles and nerves, challenges and change. But tonight it was just her and Wilma, hearts beating in sync as they held each other close. That was all that mattered. That was everything. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.